Hello everyone. So now that we have those windows installed, it's time to get on to some other task, and that's to get to cleaning this garage. Over these weeks, we've been creating a lot of mess, just moving everything down here to the garage, as well as just creating buckets of dirt and rock. And I need to start doing something to clean up and make better use of the space that I have here. Hopefully we make some good progress and get this place cleaned up. So for the past 6 years, David has been sitting back here among the construction debris, keeping watch over the table saw and its components. The table saw was moved here during the demolition phase, with the idea that in the future we can somehow repurpose it. Now that we have the original plumbing out of the garage, it needs to be cut down so that it will fit in the car to be taken to the recycling center. After struggling to cut the first pipe, Brian had the idea to use the extensions from the original table saw. Yeah, I think if you get that raised up there, we'll hold that for you. It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I was messing around with this.
It worked well.
Yeah, it was pretty well.
So now we need to turn our attention to the bottom of the tower. This has been a disaster for many years, and it's time to get it all straightened out clear out all the spiders, and treat it with an insecticide. Okay, so we have just about everything out. In the past, when I filmed this area of the tower, you really couldn't see how big it was. I think in the video, it looked to be quite small, or a lot smaller than it actually is. But when you take a look at how much stuff was in there, and we're going to go in there and shoot the inside now that it's all been opened up, you can see actually how big the space actually is. Now the space is ready to be treated for spiders. I once did this 6 years ago and it worked very well. Only this year did they start to make a comeback. So I'm going to treat it the same way I did 6 years ago with the hope that it'll last for another 6 years. So here's the final result. No spiders and everything clean and organized. So now it's time to close everything up and go have some fun. We heard the nearby village of Montefortino was having a Celtic Festival, so we thought we'd go check it out. Overall, we enjoyed the Celtic Festival and considered it an evening well spent. But now it's time to get back home and prepare for the next day of work. Okay, so now that we have the garage mostly squared away, it's time I get back to doing work on the windows. And the windows, of course, have already been installed, but I've got to do some painting around the areas where I applied caulk. Actually, I don't like the job that I did. I think I could have done a better job, but it is what it is, and it's there. And what I need to do is paint it. And I think I have the correct paint. This color is called Tuscany. And I believe it's the right color. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a test and paint a little area and to make sure that this is the proper color. And what I need to do is mix this. I already have 200 milliliters of water, and this is 0.68 liters. And so we're going to mix these in this 1 liter container. That should be enough to hold the paint and the water. And then we're going to go ahead and test this, and hopefully it's the right color. The instructions called for 200 milliliters of water to be mixed with the paint. It was coming out very watery, and then I realized what I need to do is get every drop of paint out of the bucket. Before starting the paint test, I'm going to use a razor blade to scrape off the excess sealer. Then I'm going to mask the area with tape to keep the paint from getting on the window frame. When I initially started the paint test, I started thinking, this is not the right color. Then I realized, well, the paint's wet. When it dries, it's going to have a different tint. And when it did, it was exactly the color I needed. Confident that I had the right color, I decided the best way to do this is to use a paint tray and a fine foam roller. My plan was to cover the entire inside area of the windows with 2 coats of paint. So here's what it looked like before. Clearly you could see the sealant. And then after, it came out great. So now that I have the windows painted, there are a couple more things I need to do to finalize the installation of the windows. First and foremost, I have to make this window safe. As you can see with the window open, it's quite dangerous. It's very easy for anyone to fall out of here. So you have to be very careful with the window open. So next week I have a blacksmith coming over, and he's going to look at making a ringhiera. A
Ringhera is the Italian word for the rails that go across, particularly for a door window to keep it safe. The other thing that I need to work on is on the other window. So if you remember with this window here, I had to redo the base, and the base is still unfinished. So what I need to do is fill in this hole. I'll probably do it with concrete, and then I'm going to fix up this base so that it matches with the surrounding stone. Probably what I'm going to do is paint it the same color as the outside area of the window, which is that Tuscany color, because it blends very well with the interior stone. So hopefully next week I can have both of those tasks taken care of. Then I can turn my focus to the ceiling. Now, I'm a little undecided on what to do with the ceiling, particularly in this room because of the cement beams that are in here. When you look at the beams, they appear to be wood, but indeed these beams are entirely in cement. And as you can see, there's some areas where they're broken through, and also where the old plumbing came from the original kitchen. And there's some other areas along the edge of the wall that also need to be repaired. Do I, one, put a drop ceiling in drywall? And in that case, I could embed maybe can lighting or some other lighting that would do well in this big space. Or do I plaster the area in between these cement beams and then maybe paint it the color of the walls? I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. I was thinking if I go with the drywall, maybe it would be too modern for this space, especially if I did something like with can lighting. Maybe it would just be too modern. Maybe I could go with drywall and choose a different sort of lighting that is more in keeping with the historic nature of the house. If I do go ahead and stay with the beams, it's definitely a lot more work. I would have to plaster the area between the beams and working at that height and and I couldn't use a finishing plaster. I'd have to put the sort of plaster that I have here on the walls, which is a heavier sand plaster. It would take a lot longer for sure, and I'm not sure what the benefits would be as far as versus the drywall versus what I would get. Yeah, you would be able to see the beams, but like I said, these beams aren't wood. These beams are cement. So they're very industrial looking. I haven't quite decided. I'm really, to be honest with you, I'm kind of leaning towards the drywall just because it would be a lot easier, it'd be faster. I could just make sure to go with lighting that, like I said, would look good in this space.
Let me know in the comments what you think I should do about the ceiling. Until then, thanks for watching. Ciao.